We are happy to announce that this episode of the SWW show is partially brought to you by Humble Bundle. Well, not really. We are part of the Humble Bundle referral program, and we just wanted to say that if you like really cheap games and maybe helping charity pending the Humble thing going on, all you have to do is go to humblebundle.com/partner equals SWW. That's right, humblebundle.com/partner equals SWW. And you just do your normal stuff, and it just kind of helps us get a couple bucks here and there. Maybe it helps AJ get his lights, maybe it's Mike camera, maybe we actually pay Corey for helping us out. But again, if you're going to go buy games anyway, it might be worth checking out. Hello everyone, and welcome back to one of these interview episodes of the SWW show. I'm Mike. I don't have AJ with me this week. He is out doing, I think, real people job stuff. I don't know. But today with me a special guest from not that far away, just up north, a couple spots up in Canada. To get us started, do you mind introducing yourself and the game we're here to talk about?
For sure. So my name is Martin Lemay. I am from Montreal, Quebec, in Canada. I am creating a game called the Last Citadel, and the company is called Honest Demon. So the Last Citadel is a roguelike game. It is not published yet. We're still working on it, but we're getting there.
Yeah, he was nice enough to kind of have it when me and him kind of played around kind of the game right before we talked, actually, so it's very fresh in my mind. So to get us started, so when we were talking, as you told me, you're a solo dev doing this project, and I gotta immediately point out, the scope of this feels pretty intense for like a solo indie developer. Where did like this kind of come from, and like making a game that is, as you'd probably agree, very, very like intensive in a lot of ways from development point of view?
Well, I had the idea. So I worked basically before I started on that project. I worked for a bit over 3 years for another company, and we were tackling an even bigger project. And I was still doing most of the work alone because the other devs that were part of the team were, well, actually they weren't devs. They were 3D modelers and animators. So I got a lot of experience on that project. I actually led that project for a while, and yeah, it didn't feel right to just. Basically, that project wasn't going anywhere. So I wanted to make my own thing, and then that idea came, and I tried a couple of things, and then with my experience with the old company, I was like, okay, this is definitely doable. Of course, I'm a solo dev, but I can't really do like much of the 3D work, animation work. So there is like some assets, of course, that aren't from me. So it's not like 100% just myself. There is definitely other artists that will be credited eventually in the with the project. But yeah, that project came, and I've been working on it for 8 months now. It's coming along pretty nicely, but yeah, I would say like the programming aspect, if you have the right idea, and of course you have the experience with Unreal Engine, it's fairly doable. It's manageable.
Yeah, for 8 months, I gotta say I'm very impressed by, because we were playing it, kind of two of us, and as you point out too, we did not have, I guess we had like a couple visual glitches, but I would not say any level of any game-breaking bugs kind of in the experience, which I think is very impressive kind of on there.
Thank you.
But I'm curious about, so as we're talking, right, so this is a roguelike, Steam page quote here, a roguelike role-based third-person shooter, which
yeah.
is a lot of systems obviously on top of each other.
Yeah, so to recap, yeah, it's roguelike in the sense that, of course, you're generating new maps. You have, of course, a lot of systems with random elements to them, like the weapons, some cursed items in the game, some passive abilities, and, most of it is, of course, the map generation. The role-based element is coming from an idea so there's a lot of roguelike games that support multiplayer, but most of them will all put the players in the same role. If I take Risk of Rain, which is a great game, Risk of Rain 2, and it is, of course, a source of inspiration for the Last Citadel. But that game, you're going to select like your character, but all of the players are basically all DPSs. You don't have really supporting roles. You're all playing together, killing the enemies, but you don't really help each other out directly. So I wanted to have a bit of another take on the matter. And having played a bit of MMORPGs as well, with their like tank and healer systems, I was kind of inspired by that. I didn't want to go with like characters with pre-made abilities and like, oh, I'm selecting a healing class and then I'm only good for healing. I want all the players to be able to experience the like the fighting aspect and feel powerful as well, but also have that aspect of role playing and role based. Sorry. So if players want to go with like only 4 healing abilities, that's their choice. But they can also mix and match. So have 2 offensive abilities, 2 healing. So the goal is really to make something that players will be able to really basically tailor the experience to what they really want to do, but within an environment that definitely encourages more cooperative play directly.
Yeah, it's very interesting. All right, let's jump onto that system for a second, right? So when you open up the experience, you start just on a thing, and then you get to go create these classes, and that's something I found immediately interesting. So when I think of role-based games, in a lot of ways, even if you're allowed to kind of do everything, they kind of just go, "Oh, you're a healer. Here is your 10 healer abilities. Go choose 3." Instead, you're just like, here are all the ability types. We'll tell you what they're for, but just go make something.
Exactly.
Is there is your plan? Because obviously, where you're still in this pre-alpha or alpha E phase, kind of, it's not fully public yet. Is the plan there to kind of fine tune it so realistically you're still gonna have to kind of subdivide your class, or is your goal to be a little more open? Where like, oh, I'm a DPS, but like, I could have a healer or defensive ability, and that would still make me through the experience okay.
I would say it's going to remain open, but the main thing is the dividing point is going to be the difficulty. So right now we are only playing with the standard in quotes difficulty, the only difficulty that's being that's programmed in the game at the moment. But at release, what I want to have 3 different levels of difficulty. There's going to be adventure, explorer, and then explorer, adventure, and then raider. And at the raider difficulty, you will kind of have to go towards more, like if you're playing on a 4-player game, you have a team of 4 players, you will be not forced, but very heavily encouraged to go with more of a tank and a healer with 2 DPSs. But I mean, if people are good enough at the game and know the game well enough, it will definitely still be possible to do without those roles. But it's definitely going to be encouraged. And like the ability is not the only part where you will be pushed towards a certain role. So you can start off with just like 2 healing abilities and still end up as more of a healer player, because when you go through the game, you're going to get some weapon modifiers that will push you. Like basically one of the weapon modifiers is when you fire, all of your ability cooldowns are going to be lowered. So you can use that to, pump out more healing abilities. Of course, the passive is one of the major parts where you're always going to get 3 choice of passive. You're always going to get an offensive, a defensive, and more of a supportive passive. So you can start off with just like, okay, I don't exactly know what I'm going to play. I have 2 offensive abilities, 2 healing abilities. And as the game progresses, you're like, okay, I really need more healing. And that's what actually happened with the match that we did just before this podcast is I was noticing we were lacking a lot of health. So I went full support with my passives. So yeah, that's basically the goal.
Yeah, that was a mistake. It feels like we both made we got way too, we basically, so he was very nice to let me just he's like, just go make your abilities. He made his own independent mind and we went into the experience. We almost had the exact same ability set, which I'm curious, is that a trend that you're noticing? Is like certain abilities right now are really standing out to people, or is it just was a fluke on our end?
So there is one that actually got nerfed already 3 times, and it's the battle drone that we both had. It's still a bit overtuned, I think, but it's such like a meme at this point that it's even an emote on the Twitch channel that we have. Like the battle drone will need to be tuned down. The rest, I think it's like, of course, the game when we'll hit a more public state that people are going to be able to try it out. I think there's definitely some abilities that will like be clearly more overpowered over others. But at the moment, I would say it hasn't happened. Like, there's no ability that everyone always picks. Yeah.
That's interesting. The drone's interesting because, like, the drone was useful, I think, from, like, a crowd control, and obviously, especially at the flying enemies that I was very annoyed by. But like, to me, I would not have considered him, like, too powerful. I guess maybe his cooldown is too fast, but I would not have, like, because the amount of damage he did felt not that intense, honestly. I'm kind of surprised that, like, he's the thing that it points to.
Yeah, he used to do almost twice the damage that he's currently doing. Right now, I think he's very close to being balanced. There is one thing though. You are using not an automatic rifle. You are using the Mark rifle, which is semi-automatic. So he's not necessarily always firing at the same time as you are. Whereas for what I had, the build I had with the Justice, which is an automatic shotgun, as long as I hold my fire button, he was always firing. So there is a bit of difference in terms of how you use it, depending on what build you have, and may make that stronger or less strong depending. And we do have to. He fires with you, exactly.
Okay,
he always aims exactly where you're aiming.
I did not catch that because of, obviously with my semi-auto, like just because I was not paying enough attention to realize that he was firing with me on that one.
Yeah. Well, with the semi-auto, the thing is, we don't want just him to fire when you're clicking. There is kind of a delay. So when you click, you fire, and then he's going to start firing and fires for like 1 second and a half, something like that. So it may feel disconnected with that. With the automatics, he just literally fires exactly when you're firing.
That is an interesting. Now I can see that could be the very problem. So I'm trying to think what makes sense. So one of the things I want to talk about is kind of from the experience we had is the thing that stood out to me is how many spots there are to upgrade things, right? So we talked about you have the perks, you have weapons, you can upgrade your weapons. You can give your weapons abilities, you can give your bullets abilities, and you can give your player passive abilities, I think that's everything.
Mm-hmm.
At what point, so like, I don't know if it felt too much, because like, I didn't have to make an active decision about it, because you kind of segmented them off, right? So like, there was always active decisions, but like, it wasn't kind of this continual like RPG like of, okay, where's the skill point going? Is there any concern there that you had while developing that this would be too many systems between balancing them and the players not getting lost? Has systems been pulled? I'm kind of curious from that perspective.
I don't think so. It's something, again, when we're going to go public, that we're going to be able to get feedback from. But right now, I think it's fairly manageable because, well, passives, again, if you're playing with like 3 friends and you're saying, okay, I'm a healer or I'm a tank, you're almost always going to go for that option with the passives. So you're even going to be like kind of limited in that. But if you're playing alone, of course, you're going to have a bit more reading to do. But still, I think it's fairly manageable. With the weapons, right now, we have 4 modifiers and 4 like effects. So it's, once again, more manageable. And normally you'll know, like when you get used to the game, you'll know, okay, with that weapon, if I want to be concentrating on killing either like a bunch of small enemies, I'm going to go with the crystalline effect. If I'm trying to take down more like heavy bosses, I'm either going to go with impact or radiation. So you're like, you have a couple of things where like it can be a bit much maybe at the first game, but for players who are going to like play a couple of games, and I think that's the goal of roguelikes at the same time, is you're going to be able to like say, okay, I want to have this exact thing on my weapon to do that thing. So like, I don't think it's going to be like spreadsheet worthy, but yeah, basically the number of choices will be reduced depending on what you want to do.
Okay, no, that makes sense. The next thing kind of in that similar vein is from upgrading is obviously of currency, right? So we saw, because I saw there's 2 types of currency in this game currently. You called it the run-based currency, so like as you're going, you accrue it, and you spend it. And then there was this permanent currency, which I didn't get to see. Do you mind talking about that and kind of these more roguelike-y systems kind of as it goes?
For sure. Yeah. So there's 2 currency. There's the crystals and the prism. So the crystals are the currency that you're going to spend while you're playing the game. So while you're in the match, if you want to upgrade some weapons, if you want to buy new weapons, buy passives, stuff like that. Those are really for that specific run. So as soon as you either die or complete that run, when you restart, you're going to restart with your just a basic weapon and lose like the remaining of that currency. The other currency is the one to unlock all of the different stuff. So right now, when we played, I made you unlock everything all at once, just because it's more fun for you to test, to have a lot of choice. But when the game's going to release, we're going to have still a lot of choice for players when they start the game. So we don't want to have like, okay, you're going to get 4 abilities, so that's the 4 that's the only things you're going to get, and then 2 or 3 weapons. We're still going to give like the starting players a lot of stuff. But the other weapons and abilities and passives that you can start with, or even other suits, you'll be able to unlock with that currency. So that currency we still collected in the run that we played, but it's just right now kind of useless when we're playtesting. But it's going to come more like when the game actually releases.
Interesting. Okay, that's what I was curious, because in my head I'm like, what is it to upgrade? Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So you did at the beginning, we hit the big, it's like a big button on the top right of the screen to upgrade all. So that makes sense, kind of how that's working. Is there any, I guess is your plan then kind of like as the game eventually comes out and kind of goes through, as most games do, some sort of iteration process, is your plan to continually be like adding more things the player can upgrade, or is it kind of like your goal is to kind of like as the game comes out, here's kind of the set amount of stuff kind of, and it's just enough that players come back for?
No, we definitely want to push more stuff. It of course, is going to depend on how the game, sells. If we can afford it, we would like to make more content for it. So of course, right now we are planning basically on 3 different worlds, and every world's going to have 2 acts. So the game we just played, you played the first world and a small part of the second world. So you played not exactly half of the game, but yet, well, half of a run. But we would like for the initial release to have 3 worlds, and then eventually we would like to add more worlds to that. And of course, when we are creating the map at the moment, we're using a module-based system. So what that is if you're thinking of games like Enter the Gungeon, it's kind of like that as well. So they have pre-made rooms that they then connect to one another. So there's different ways of doing that. Like, for example, another game called Wizards of Legend, another roguelike, has a mix of module-based and then pure random generation to connect all those modules. We're using really purely modules. So we have like different like modules A, Bs, and Cs, and Ds. A are like the big rooms that you can have some events in, like one of the mechanics is when you enter a room, you can be locked in with like some portals opening and then you'll be swarmed with enemies. So those are module A's. You have module B's, which are like medium rooms. Module C's are the corridors that connect everything. And then module D's are special events. For example, there is a shop called Guns and Go, and that would be part of a module D, or like cursed weapons or an altar that you can modify your weapon. Those would be part of another module. So yeah, we want to add more types. Well, not necessarily more types of module, but like more of the module D type. So like the special one would like to have more variety on that. So that when, like if we push an update a month after the game releases and you redo the first level, you're still going to get surprised with new rooms that you've never seen before. And aside from that, of course, making additional actives and stuff like that. One of the main things that we'll probably add more before the release is the weapon modifiers and effects. Right now, there's only 4 of each. I would like to push that to maybe 6 of each for release. And those, again, may be added more later down the line. So there's definitely room to add a ton of stuff for the game. But none of it will, if we can afford it, none of it will be monetized.
As any good indie dev says, if we can afford it. But yeah, no, that's always
yeah,
the
exactly.
reality. People forget it is a business, and yes, you have some companies try to rip you off. Other companies are just trying to survive. There's always that fun middle ground of like the more units that are sold, the less they have to monetize. It's a very simple equation, really. It's a kind of more money here, there's less money there. Yeah. So yeah, I want to say thank you again for, by the way, letting me try out the game before we talk. I'm kind of curious, obviously, as we're talking, you said it's been about 8 months in active development. What is kind of, is there timelines that you're talking about yet? Any of that fun stuff?
Yeah, there is. So one of the fun things that we have no idea how it's going to pan out is we actually applied for a Epic Mega Grant. So I don't know if you ever heard of that. But basically, Epic, the company that makes Unreal Engine, if you're selected, they can give you a grant to help you with development. So depending on if we receive the grant, the timeline is going to change. But whatever the case, the timeline we are aiming for is around a year. So in a year, the game should be fully ready to be released. If we do get the grant, the major difference is that we'll be able to hire a 3D artist that can work more closely with us, so that he can make basically models, additional suits and stuff like that. So I would say in all of the cases we're aiming for a year, but the amount of content may change depending on the result of the grant.
To clarify, you mean a year from now, or do you mean a year from when you started development?
A year from now.
Okay, so yeah.
So it's going to be a bit under 2 years of development, basically.
Which for people don't realize, that's still a long time. Like, working on a project for that long, it's just one of those things you're like, how bad could that be? And by the end, you're like, finish this damn thing, and they're like shoving it in the box, it doesn't fully fit. Well, perfect. I want to say thank you for talking to me and showing me the game. I'm kind of curious. So obviously, there's a ton to this game, and people should go wishlist it on Steam and go check it out. Is there any other feature or something massive in this game that you feel that needs to be shouted out, or we should be sending people to learn more?
Well, the two shoutouts I would like to make is, one, we're going to have a public alpha very soon. When I say very soon, it's in about 2 to 3 weeks. So if you want to be part of that, it's going to be posted on Steam, but you can also check us out on Discord. We have the Last Citadel Discord channel. And the other thing is, if you're interested in game development just generally, either programming-wise or game development-wise, I do have a Twitch that I stream every Tuesday and Thursday from 2:30 to 4:30 Eastern Time.
Yeah, we talked about that before. I actually want to talk about that for a second. So yeah, you are. We've had a few people on here that's like not a super common indie thing, but it's like a somewhat common, like a acquaintance of mine, Dragon, somebody does the same thing with his games, where he kind of like. Where he streams them a couple nights a week, whatever he works on them. I'm very curious if we could just follow up on that again. Is like, how did you decide that was a good idea? And then I think follow up that is, how much did that change your workflow? Kind of, as we talk about, because in my head I'd be like, okay, I'd have to, for those couple hours, kind of change what I'm working on, because like obviously like running indie studio, there's still businessy stuff, and you can't do that during that time slot and all of that kind of workflow.
Mm-hmm. So the decision came mainly from two things. The main thing is just the goal for the company itself. So I'm very interested in video games, but like the video gaming industry as a whole. I'm not a fan of AAA studios, but I think it's still a very, very fun industry to be part of. And I want to basically show the younger audience how it works, because if I go back to when I was young, I was super interested in video gaming. Like basically, I wanted to make games since I was like 8 years old, but there was nothing really public for me to see on how it's actually being made. With today's day and age, with like Twitch and YouTube, it's a lot more visible, but it's still not something that's super shown and front and center. So I wanted to make a platform that will kind of serve as education. It's not only like the Twitch platform. I don't only use it just to promote the game. We have a lot of people that come in and ask questions about optimization, about like which engine is better than the other, and I really like those discussions. There's definitely an aspect of education that I'm really interested in. And I forget the other part. The other question. What was the other question? Sorry. Yeah, exactly. The workflow. Sorry. So for the workflow, it's definitely, I do need to make the time to plan what I want to do during the stream. It's not just, just open up the stream and continue exactly what I was doing. It's definitely a matter of, okay, what can I do that will be interesting to show? Because of course, a lot of making a game is also debugging it, fixing some issues, and some of that can take a long time. And other stuff is not interesting to show. Of course, like programming, there is some aspect, like one of the things that I've been doing recently on Twitch and that people seem to enjoy is making new abilities. And that's something I need to do, but it's something that's also fun because we tackle a couple of things. We tackle the design element of making an ability, how it works, the balancing aspect, the code behind it, of course, and even the visual aspect. So we do tackle a bit of like Niagara and particle systems to make it all look good. So those are fun to do, but it's definitely not just like do whatever I was doing, because like especially like packaging a project, debugging, those can be tedious and not fun to show.
Yeah, no, is just see you're getting into the fun part, or you might have started it where you're like, okay, now we just need 10,000 computers with different graphics cards. Of like, did this work here? Yes. Did this work? No. Why didn't you work? Wait, why are you working now? Like that, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
That's what it's going to be at the end. That's like my friends I know who do that a lot of times. They'll like, when they get to the tail end of a project, when it's that annoying phase, they'll just start prototyping a new project, and that's their stream game, because they're like, there is physically nothing to show, because it's just me in this one corner saying when I disconnect. I can't show that on a stream.
Yeah, let me package for like 5 minutes and then re-download the project on different. That's boring as shit. Like, yeah, definitely. Like, we definitely have to keep in mind that it's still an entertainment. People will join if they find the thing they're looking at interesting. And I try to keep it interesting as well. And like even on the first few times I stream, of course there was no one else aside from just myself with the stream. And I was still talking out loud, explaining every single thing I did, just so that, well, first of all, to get used to it, but also so that if someone eventually joins in, he can get right into it and then, like, either learn or just see exactly how I do things. So yeah, it's definitely like it's really entertaining. It's still a new media for me. Like I've started streaming, I think 2.5 or 3 months ago, so still fairly recent.
Yeah. Well, perfect. Well, I want to say best of luck on continuing and finishing development over the next year. Oh, that's a long time. On this game, as we said, the game is The Last Citadel. You can currently wishlist it on Steam. On Twitter, you can find him at honest_demon, and it's Honest Demon Official on Twitch. I believe that's all the fun stuff. Is it?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, then, thank you for taking time out of your evening, apparently your off day, night, to talk to me, and best of luck on finishing development.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and best of luck on future podcasts.
The SWW show and all of its affiliate podcasts are podcasted by me, Mike Maroney, and AJ Losi, sometimes by contributors, including Corey King. You can follow the SWW Show on social media at the SWW Show, or sooner or later you go to patreon.com/SWW to help us out. Thank you. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day.